loving hearts and the helping hands. Fantastic, thank you. I will also light the peace candle and ask you now to take some time to consider those in situations of conflict all over the world, not just internationally, but here in the UK. Maybe there is someone Now, each Sunday we like to get to know one another, so I invite you now to turn to someone near you, say your name and introduce yourself. And our pianist is running a little bit late, so I'll put on some gentle music. When it starts again, that's just a reminder to gently close our conversations and pick them up again at the end of service. So if you'd like to turn to someone now and greet them. Thank you, everyone. It's lovely to hear some conversations bubbling up, to see some faces who used to come to chapel who've come back, and to see some people back after their summer break. I have an unusual request now, because it's hard sometimes to choose the songs for or hymns for all ages, because we have this balance of wanting to be playful and young at heart, and also, sing some of the more sophisticated hymns. So I'm going to ask you now to join me in singing a very simple tune that my father would often sing and play on guitar, and that I use sometimes when I, the child in me, or a child I am with, need some comforting. Sometimes we don't know why things happen the way that they do, or we start a day thinking that it will be a certain way, and it turns out to be completely different. For me, this simple song is a way of capturing a moment, seeing how the current of the day feels, and trying to go with it. We will sing it through twice, and it is to the melody of Mary Had a Little Lamb, but the words are, Merrily we roll along. So if you've caught your breath, if you could play it through once, we'll stand and then we'll sing it through twice together. Thank you so much. Please be seated. Now, our story for all ages is about a story of a real Danish king that lived about 1,000 years ago. And there is a legend about him that says he was so baffled by the fact that his servants used to treat him as if he was a god, that he decided he'd show them that he was just at the mercy of nature like anyone else. He did this by ordering that his throne was put by the shore of the sea, and he commanded the tide not to come in, and for him not to get wet from the waves. But the waves came crashing in, and he got really soggy. He then proclaimed to all that he had just as little control over things as many others. Here is a poem all about King Canute and his very soggy moments by the sea. I invite Amira and Andrew to come and read and act out King Canute. And I will bring your throne to the shore. Yes.
Right. Okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. King Canute, a poem by Paul Perrault. There once was an old king called King Canute. He was a kind old man and wise to boot. He was troubled, though. He thought it was odd that his subjects treated him like a god. One day, a man said, "You're a great king, ruler of everyone and everything." King Canute looked at his subject and laughed. He said, "Not everything, don't be daft. I couldn't command the wind not to blow. I couldn't command a tree not to grow. I'm not in charge of the birds or the bees, the sun or the moon, the skies or the seas. Canute was now starting to get quite vexed. The subject just stood there looking perplexed. The king called the servants together. Then he bellowed out an order to his men. "Pick up my throne and take it to the beach. There is a lesson that I want to teach." So they carried out his throne down to the ocean. Followed by the crowds, there was quite a commotion. Canute sat on the throne facing the sea and spoke to it with great authority. "I am your king, and I give this command. Stay where you are, do not come on this sand." But the sea didn't listen to the king. No one can stop the tide from coming in. As the waves kept advancing up the shore, the wise old king tried to halt them once more. "I am the king. You must do as I say. I command you to go back right away." But the waves still came right up to his feet. Canute just shrugged and admitted defeat. He faced the crowd and he sternly outcried, "Not even a king can control the tide. I did my best, but no, I came up short. I'm just not as powerful as you thought."
Thank you so much for the poem and the story. The collection for this month is for Christian Aid Ebola Appeal. This appeal helps fund hygiene kits and hand washing supplies to protect families from Ebola, which is spreading in the Democratic Republic of Congo. However, we have little control over the impact of the Ebola outbreak, as it is a complex humanitarian emergency exacerbated by decades of conflict and displacement, making it difficult for communities to protect themselves from the virus. So we will now take the collection. Thank you. Thank you so much for your kind contributions. I'd now like to share a poem, and Christina will be reading it. I'll just introduce it before Christina comes up. Again, to talk about my father. I read this particular poem, Sea Fever, by John Masefield, at his funeral, and I want to share it again today to say that there is this feeling, not only like King Canute, of something much bigger than us that is out of our control, but also to go down to the shore, to reset ourselves and feel at one with the universe, and make everything that feels too big or too much in our lives more manageable again. This is what I hear in this poem, and I ask you, what do you hear?
Sea Fever by John Masefield. I must go down to the seas again, to the lonely sea and the sky, and all I ask is a tall ship and a star to steer her by, and the wheels kick and the wind's song and the white sails shaking, and a grey mist on the sea's face and a grey dawn breaking. I must go down to the seas again, for the call of the running tide is a wild call and a clear call that may not be denied. And all I ask is a windy day with the white clouds flying, and the flung spray and the blown spume, and the seagulls crying. I must go down to the seas again, to the vagrant gypsy life, to the gull's way and the whale's way, with a wind like a whetted knife. And all I ask is a merry yarn from a laughing fellow rover, and a quiet sleep and a sweet dream when the long trick's over.
Let us now enter into a time of prayer, after which we will have music for reflection, when you can come forward to light a silent candle for a joy or concern. Spirit of life and love, God of our hearts, as we seek connection with someone or something beyond ourselves, we remain humbled by the awesome complexity of the universe, the miracle of creation, and the grace of the ultimate Spirit. In this time of prayer, let us give thanks for the tides of our lives, for those things which have served us, and others which now it feels natural to let ebb away, and to give contemplation to these things in this time of stillness. Let us sit with those parts of ourselves that cause us discomfort, with a gentle understanding and forgiveness. Spirit of the divine self, we open up our hearts to listen to the wisdom of the still small voice that may speak in these quiet moments. been thinking about the call to the seaside. Some of us, on Christopher Mason's recommendation, went to Brighton for the day to listen to a jazz concert at the Unitarian Chapel, followed by fish and chips on the beach. There's something about this season and the way we feel we can escape the summer heat at the seaside. Going to the shoreline invites us to pause and to look at our lives a little more kindly. Summer doesn't rush us. It gives us room to breathe, to notice, and to reflect. And when I think of summer, I think of the sea, the kind of impulsive feeling sea fever, the poem that Christina read, throws up for us in the opening. I must go down to the sea again. There is something calling me to act, to get out there into nature, to reflect, but also to move. I think of the tide gathering itself in and then letting go again. The tide doesn't cling to anything. It receives what comes, it holds it for a moment, and then it releases it back into the wide water. And I think there's a quiet wisdom in that rhythm. Summer can be a good time to ask ourselves, what am I carrying that I don't need to carry anymore? What can I let the tide take? And what might flow towards me if I made a little more space? My friend was also talking the other day about visiting a place that is only reachable during certain tides. For example, you can get to it after a certain time in the morning, but you have to leave when the tide changes again. I remember being fascinated as a child about certain places like that. Do you have a special place in your imagination for such an adventure? Or a place perhaps that is special because you can only reach it at certain times? What does that feel like to you? What does that mean in your spiritual lives? And I've also been thinking about sunrise and sunset. There doesn't have to be complicated rituals, but some sort of shape perhaps around our day, which helps us to get ready for the freshness of the opportunity of each day and then the letting go of things at the end of the day, like a tide coming in and out each day. We get the chance to start again each day, but also decide where and what to build in our lives for lasting change. And maybe that's the invitation of summer, to let the tide teach us how to live, to let go a little more easily, to soften around the edges, to trust that what is meant for us will find its way back, and what isn't will be carried out to sea. And every day we leave footprints in our relationships, our communities, our choices, and our inner world. The tide will wash away the marks, but not the meaning. What remains is the intention behind each step. What would you like to do more of for yourself, for communities, and perhaps even social action in the autumn and beyond? How do I want my footprints to look? What story do I want them to tell? What traces of kindness, courage, or hope do I want to leave behind? Summer teaches us that life is both gentle and powerful. The tide keeps moving, the sun keeps rising, and we are invited again and again to begin, to release, and to walk forward with purpose. May this season give us the courage to let go, the openness to receive, and the wisdom to shape our footprints with love. And we now have some activity tables to have a time to reflect and celebrate all these things that I mentioned, the blessings, to think about rituals in the morning and at dusk, and also what we might want our footprints to look like. So on one table, you can add your feelings of blessing to our wave of blessings. On the second table, you can add your rituals to our ritual moodscape board. And with the other table, which isn't actually a table, it's just a sheet of paper on the floor with some pens, I invite you to draw around your feet. You can take your shoes off or leave them on, and write what you would like to do for the earth and community this year and beyond. Please, I invite you to have fun, enjoy, and relax in the process if you can. And we'll take about 15 minutes, so just choose where you want to go. There's only 3 stations. You might have a chance to do them all. Okay. That's okay, the wave of blessings, I think. It's got little blue circles on it. Thank you so much for your time and your attitude of being young at heart to come and see what the tables offer. We usually have a sharing the mic session now, but the microphones are a bit tricky to use in the hall, and it would mean that you'd have to come up here to share. So just to reflect on what was there, we had some drawings of a sunrise from Heidi at the sunrise and sunset table. We had a beautiful wave of blessings. I was really touched by all the beautiful words and things that people feel. And also the footprints, which a lot of people put peace and close community, empathy, and love. Thank you, love. Love. So that was really beautiful to see, and they all kind of, in my mind, mirror each other a little bit and share some similarities there. So thank you so much. I'd now like to invite you to sing our final hymn, which is Be Thou My Vision. If you wanted to share something, it's just tricky with the microphone. So when we're back in chapel, we'll have our cool microphone to share and pass around. But if there's anything you'd like to share, this is a shared moment. So if there's anything you'd like to share or tell me, and I'll share with others. Yeah, come and share it. That'd be really lovely.
I was relieved that we didn't have to do all the soul searching that Katie was suggesting on the spot. I'll do it later.
Hi, I'm Christopher. This is kind of a bit of a ramble, but it really did strike me. I have a newsagent near me where I live in Kentish Town, and we get along very well, and occasionally I buy him breakfast, and he's amazed, because there's a cafe next door, but, he does lots of nice things for people. And he's always there, 7 days a week. And I say, don't you ever take a day off? No, can't do it, got to earn the money. And I thought to myself, is some of this the fact that you can't trust anybody? And I thought, well, something will happen. And sure enough, his father became very ill for several months, and he had to go and visit him in hospital. So he had to find some youngsters, early 20s, to look after the shop. And they were the sort that you could trust. They were probably Muslims. No, sorry, I beg your pardon. They were Hindus. But they were the trustworthy type. And eventually his father died, which was a big deal for him because he looked awful for a few weeks. And he had to sort out the funeral with all of that, and 350 guests coming from all over Britain and the Far East. And I went in and I looked at him and I said, we were talking about you never having any time off. And in a sense, we didn't do it ourselves in our own volition, and he didn't do it, but something up there, a presence, I think. So he's been away. He looked at me and he kind of laughed. And he agreed with me that it had happened. And I think this is one of those amazing things about life. And you can't really write it down or say this is going to happen one way or another, because it just happens in the great above, the great beyond. So things happen. So I give that to you with my love.
Thank you so much, Chris and Christina. I would just like to add to Chris's words about helping hands, and I suppose that's where the big ocean of things going on and the tides coming and going. And sometimes I haven't really talked about Joseph Campbell much in some of the services that I've given, but sometimes if we listen to our hearts, we go on the right path, and maybe this gentleman wanted to take time to spend with you, and he couldn't relinquish that, was too scared. And so perhaps these helping hands, even through suffering and heartache with his father being poorly, helped move him onto the path that was more peaceful and helpful for him and others. So thank you so much for sharing that. And with Christina, I'd just like to say, absolutely do take your time with any of these suggestions. That's what the summer's for. Nothing should be rushed necessarily, but they're just open offerings to take with you on your week. So if you'd like to, did you want to come up, Heidi? Yeah, sure. Yeah, and then we'll sing the hymn after. Okay. Sure.
I feel this is an opportunity to say thank you to this community. As some of you know, my dear husband passed away last year, and I had a lot of support, and we planted a tree in his memory in the garden, and that is somehow, it gives me comfort. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Heidi. If you'd like to turn to, Ken? Sorry, I'm not good at spotting you. No one's raising their hands.
Because it's in keeping with the sea theme of this service, I want to share this with you. I must go down to the sea again, to the lonely sea and sky. I left my vest and pants there. I wonder if they're dry.
Spot on, Ken. Thank you. Okay. So please can we play through the first verse and then rise as you are able. For Be Thou My Vision, 151. May all be well this week. May the lessons that we've had here today help us in our road ahead. And may we say the closing words that are in your service sheet that the children share when they close their bright lights. As we leave this friendly place, love gives light to every face. May the lessons that we learn warm our hearts until we return. May all be well with you this week. Thank you for your time, your talent, and your treasure, and I hope you'll join us after the service. Thank you to Ken for stewarding, Amira for her welcome team, and for Jen, who got over certain challenges to get here today to play. So thank you for the beautiful music, Jen, today. Thank you so much.